I genuinely don't understand how Euphoria Season 3 managed to be this disappointing. Like this actually needs to be studied. You wait years for a new season. Years. People are hyping this thing up like it's about to save television. Fans are defending it before it even drops. Everyone's acting like this is going to be some legendary comeback. And somehow, it comes back feeling worse than before. That's honestly impressive, because I already thought the show was becoming a mess in Season 2. This season feels like the writers completely forgot why people cared about the show in the first place. Back in the beginning, Euphoria at least felt like it had something to say. Sure, it was dramatic. Sure, it was over the top. But underneath all that chaos, there were moments that actually felt real. Characters felt messy in a believable way. People connected to it. Season 3, this feels like the TV version of somebody desperately trying to go viral. Everything feels louder. Everything feels more dramatic. Everything feels more forced. Nothing feels natural anymore. And can we talk about how unbelievably exhausting this show has become? Every single scene feels like it's screaming at you for attention. Nobody can just have a normal conversation. Nobody can have just an agreement. Nobody can simply exist. And everything has to feel like the emotional equivalent of a nuclear bomb going off. Somebody says one wrong sentence, suddenly it's filmed like the end of civilization. Sad music starts playing, slow motion kicks in, the lighting changes, everybody looks emotionally destroyed. Bro, relax. You missed the text message. The world isn't ending. That's the biggest issue with Season 3. The show has absolutely no chill anymore. Every moment is treated like it's the most important thing humanity has ever witnessed. And when everything is dramatic, nothing actually feels dramatic. Because your brain just stops caring. After a while, you're sitting there completely numb thinking, alright, who's about to ruin their life for absolutely no reason this episode? And somehow the characters feel even worse now. Nobody feels like a real person anymore. Everybody feels like a walking Twitter argument. Nobody talks like a human being. And every conversation sounds like somebody trying way too hard to sound deep. It's always some dramatic speech that sounds important until you actually think about it for 5 seconds and realize they basically said nothing. The dialogue feels like somebody opened a quote page on Pinterest and just started copying emotional captions. And the decision making? Absolutely horrifying. I have genuinely never seen a group of characters this committed to ruining their own lives. Every time there's a normal solution to a problem, they avoid it like it's illegal. A regular person sees a bad situation and tries to fix it. A Euphoria character sees a bad situation and somehow makes it 10 times worse immediately. It's almost impressive how consistently terrible everybody's choices are. At some point, you should stop feeling bad for people because you're just watching disaster happen on purpose. And don't even get me started on how obsessed this show is with being shocking. Because Season 3 feels less interested in telling a good story and way more interested in making people tweet about it. That's what it feels like now. It's not storytelling. It's not character development. Just shock value. Guys, look how crazy this scene is. Guys, look how uncomfortable this moment is. Guys, look how wild we are. And after a while, it just becomes annoying because shocking doesn't automatically mean good. Anybody can throw chaos at the screen. That doesn't make it smart writing. At some point, it just starts feeling desperate. Like the show is begging for attention. The craziest part? It still looks amazing. That's what makes this even more frustrating. The camera work, great. The visuals, great. The lighting, great. The music, usually solid. Everything looks expensive. But that's honestly became the biggest trick Euphoria pulls. Because it hides weak storytelling behind pretty visuals. It's like wrapping bad food in expensive packaging. Yeah, it looks incredible, but eventually you realize there's not much underneath. You can only stare at neon lights for so long before realizing nothing interesting is actually happening. And the pacing somehow feels worse too. Episodes somehow feel incredibly slow and rushed at the same exact time. Scenes drag on forever, but then huge moments suddenly happen and disappear before you even care. Storylines feel messy. Things happen randomly. Characters change depending on whatever the plot suddenly needs. It honestly feels less like a carefully written show and more like somebody making things up as they go. And after waiting years, that makes it sting even more because people expected something great. Instead, Season 3 feels like a show became a parody of itself. It's like somebody watched old Euphoria and only remembered people like the drama, people like the visuals, and people like the crazy moments. And forgot that people also wanted actual storytelling, actual character development, and actual reasons to care. Euphoria feels less like a TV show and more like an overproduced emotional meltdown with expensive lighting. And somehow, people call this peak television. I feel like I'm losing my mind because if this is supposed to be amazing TV, then the standards have fallen straight through the floor. Season 3, honestly, feels like the writers threw logic out the window, turned the drama slider to maximum, and just hoped everybody would be distracted by glitter and sad music. And somehow, that plan actually worked on some people. And I genuinely don't know how.